Welcome to Beyond Work, a series by F15 where we unpack the big shifts in our work lives and give you a taste of what those future workplaces could look like. My name is Olivia Chang, and in this series, I'll be speaking to the business leaders and entrepreneurs who are driving this movement. Joining me today is Christina Trelle, Head of Human Resources over at Swiss International Airlines. Now, Christina, you took over this role in March. Can you give us an idea of what it was really like to go to work during those early days?
I think I was so focused, I didn't really notice when I was going to work, because I then went via Cloten and I worked the 10 minutes to the office. But I remember that in April, I took a detour via the airport, and all of a sudden it dawned on me what the effect of the crisis is, because it was empty, a very eerie feeling where it's usually hustling and bustling, lots of people, a lot of energy, and there was just nothing. And that was very eerie and sort of reflected, of course, how we felt in our headquarters.
Give us a window into the HR world. What does a regular day in your job look like right now?
Right now? It's actually my work, I think, or the work of HR at Swiss has completely changed. It's been a complete reset, and it's constantly changing also during the crisis. At the beginning of the crisis, my day was I spent a lot of time within various task forces, company-wide task forces, HR task forces, specialized task forces on short-time work and stuff like that. We had a lot of management board meetings where HR at the moment is a part of, because a lot of topics are connected with HR topics. And at the moment, still, my day is full of meetings where I'm trying to find the best focus and try and move forward the topics that are important now. Yeah, and most of the topics, I'd say, are connected to how can we as HR help this company to survive this unprecedented crisis. So it's a lot of negotiations with the unions. It's about trying to get the short-time work running. It's having a protection concept for the people in place. That's not an HR issue as such, but we're part of that. And a lot of communication involved with that too.
It sounds like crisis management seems to be a big part of this story now. Are you essentially learning a new job on the spot?
I have to think about that question. Maybe you're right. I didn't look at it like that, but you're right, because all the topics or a lot of the topics that we've managed before, strategic topics, talent management topics, HR marketing, how can we, position the company even better to sort of, get the good talents and keep good talents. That's all in the background now. That's virtually non-existent, I'd say, at least for 90%. So yeah, it's learning a new job, and it's also just coping with ever-changing environment. Yeah, and it's not just me, the whole HR team that has had to do that process, or maybe actually the whole of Swiss, because nothing is like it was before, nothing.
But from what I've understand, you have been in this industry for more than 20 years now. Are there any moments where you think, okay, I've learned lessons from that I can take for this crisis at the moment?
I've been in this industry for a while. I've been through 9/11, the volcano, but nothing like that. Nothing that sort of goes on for so long. I think what may have sort of helped is that we do have, of course, as an airline, a very sophisticated system of how task forces are set up, and how you deal with a crisis, because I mean, you do have to be ready. all the time, but such a crisis, such a pandemic situation that goes on for so long, never. So it was sort of, in Germany would say, ins kalte Wasser geworfen.
So in this moment when the airline industry has obviously taken a huge hit, we're talking about layoffs, short-time work, bankruptcies. How do you, in your role as HR, try to see beyond these challenges, try to find the bright spots?
That's a good question. At the moment, I have to say, the focus really is on managing the crisis. And there's a big danger in that because as the management team and also as HR, there will be a point where we'll have to look into the future and where we'll have to find perspectives. But at the moment, really, it is about surviving. It is about how can we get down the costs? I mean, we just made a loss of 150 million francs in the third quarter. We're losing 1.5 to 2 million a day. So all we're doing is trying to sort of cut down the costs and managing to stay alive in order to be ready to sort of rise up again, because that's of course the idea that hopefully next summer we'll see that there will be changes in the corona regime and changes in the travel restriction. Hopefully testing will be much more integrated into society, and then we have to be ready to sort of rise up again.
You've talked about some of those losses. Obviously, it's not easy to take in. What does that mean then for the Swiss workforce? What will that look like?
Well, one thing is that we have to cope with two things. We have at least temporarily too many people for what we do, for what we produce, and we have to save costs. That's two things we have to deal with. So what we're doing is that we're in negotiations with all of the unions. With one of them, we found an agreement already with our cabin crew union. And with the others, we're still in negotiations to find a way or to find contributions that help us as a company and that help to fill the gap that is there cost-wise, but that's also, I'd say, acceptable and understandable for the people involved. And what things that also like naturally happened is that we've cut all our training activities apart from the training that has to be done mandatory. There was a complete cut of that. Our variable pay that sort of really covers every member of staff. Everybody has a sort of variable pay that's sort of bound to company KPIs. That's not there anymore. So there's a lot happening, and I think one of the challenges is really to keep that on a level that is still acceptable for the people.
So what advice can you give to other HR executives out there who are sitting here and thinking, I also need to get through this situation, but I don't know how? What advice can you share?
What helped us as HR to cope was we got very, very close to the top management, to the management board. So that's really important, I think. And the other thing is that you just have to collaborate. You have to look at what has to be done, and you have to organize it, and you have to look who has which skills, and regardless of the job descriptions.
Now, this series is all about the future of work. How does that then filter into the culture of Swiss? What is the culture going to look like, in 1 year from now, in 3 years from now, from the crisis?
Well, hopefully we've recovered as a company. I I would say that we're probably smaller. That's what we already state also publicly. I think what we have learned in the crisis is that collaboration is key. Hierarchy is not so important. Decisions need to be made where there's people who know what's going on. So that's a really interesting development. We haven't been a very hierarchic organization, but we're big. I mean, at least I'd say for Swiss standards, with 9,500 people, we're big. And yeah, we got closer to each other, and and we got more flexible. We don't look into what's written in my job description, but we look at what needs to be done, who can do it, who wants to do it. And I think this flexibility is also something we need to sort of carry across for the future. I think that will help, and that will also help us attract talent again, right? We will need that at some point.
Christina, that brings us very nicely to my final question to you, which is also about talent, because obviously that's a huge part of HR. I'm wondering, what would you say to someone who has studied aviation or wants to break into the travel industry and they're looking at the situation right now? What would you say to them?
We'll recover. I'm really sure that we will recover. So get some experience somewhere else, because at the moment, I mean, we're not hiring. Sadly enough, very, very limited position we do hire, but get some experience somewhere else, and then we'll be ready sometime again. But I wouldn't now try and wait and bank on employment at any of the airlines, I'd say, within the next couple of months, because if I look at it, I'm not 100% sure, but I think we're about the only airline that hasn't declared that they lay off people, but all the others are, at least they have declared that they lay off people, but I think nobody's hiring at the moment. So I think you have to find an alternative way and then find your way back into the airline industry.
Well, Christina, thank you so much for sharing all those insights, and let's hope that things do take off again. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Olivia.